Alright, so let's begin working on making the scripts for when you join a room so that you can see who's in the room and do various actions as well. The first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of organizing my structure here. So I'm in the scripts folder. I'm just going to right click, create, make a new folder, and call it lobby. And I'm going to move the lobby canvas, the room layout group, and the room listing into that folder. Let's make another folder. Gonna call it room listing and open that folder up, and we're gonna make a couple scripts. So the first script, we will call it player listing. The next script, we will call it player layout group. And at the time, I believe that's all we need. Let's open up player listing. I'm going to delete the using system collections and collections generic. I'm also going to get rid of the void start and void update. I'm going to make a public variable type Photon player. I'm going to name it Photon player as well. Get with a private set. And I'm going to do a public void apply Photon player. Pass in the parameter of Photon player. And let's go back up top here, and let's do a serialized field for private text, and you're not gonna have the IntelliSense on it right away, so make sure you add in using UnityEngine.ui so it accepts that you're going to use that class. I'm going to name it underscore player name. Now I'm going to make a private accessor for it. So then under the apply Photon player method, I'm going to do player name dot text equals Photon player dot nickname. So this is going to get called, and it's going to pull the nickname chosen by the player in your room and assign it to our text right here. So go ahead and save your script and go back to the editor. And we need to go to our prefabs and select the player listing prefab. And under component, we're going to add in player listing. Okay, so go ahead and expand player listing. I can see it still says room name text. Looks like I forgot to rename that one. So highlight player listing and drag it under your canvas. Expand it once in the canvas, and let's rename that to player name text instead. Select player listing once more, and where it says player name, the bottom right in the inspector, drag over player name text. And hit apply so that this saves the changes to your prefab, and then delete player listing. Okay, so let's go back to our scripts folder and then the room listing folder, and let's drop the players layout group script onto the player layout group component, or sorry, object in the hierarchy. And let's open that script up. So I'm going to double click player layout group and open it. So we don't need start or update like before. You can delete both of those. We'll probably be using collections generic. I'm not sure about regular collections, so I'll keep them both in for now. I need to make a serialized field. I'm going to call it private game object underscore player listing prefab. I'm going to make a private accessor for it. And let's go ahead and save and go back to the editor real quick. Select your player layout group game object in the hierarchy. Go back to prefabs and drop in the player listing prefab and save your scene. Go back to your Visual Studio. We should still be in player layout group. We need to make a list where we're going to store all the players currently in the room. So I'm going to do private list player listing, and I'm going to be referencing the player listing script instead of the game object just so I can access it more easily. Okay, so underscore player listings equals new list player listing, and then make an accessor for it as usual. Okay. Now I'm going to make a couple placeholder methods here. I'm going to do private void player left room with the parameter Photon player. I'm also going to do private void player joined room, also with the type Photon player. Okay, so now I need to use the callbacks from Photon Network. And I just looked at the API briefly. What's called when you join a room is on joined room. So I'm going to do private void on joined room. And this is called by Photon whenever you join a room. I know I haven't been commenting up to now, but I just want to at least comment the Photon calls so you know where I'm getting this from. So private void on joined room. The first thing we're going to do is add all of the current players in. So Photon player, and they're gathered as an array. So Photon players equals Photon network dot player list, and this will get all the lists of current players in the room that you reside in. So now I'm going to go through the list. So I'm going to do a for loop, and of length Photon players dot length, and then I'm just going to do player joined room Photon players I, and by default you'll be in this list when you join it. So it's going to add all the existing players as well yourself. Alright, let's work on the player join method first. We're going to do a check. If Photon player is null, then return to exit the method. I don't think this would ever happen, but better safe than sorry, of course. So we're going to do first player left room and pass in the Photon player. The reason we do this, in the off chance that a player joined room message is sent when the player is already in the room, this really shouldn't happen, but if there's ever a hiccup on the network, this will prevent you from getting duplicates. So now we need to make a new game object. So I'm going to call it game object, player listing object equals initiate player listing prefab. And we're going to also set the parent to the transform of this script. So player listing object dot transform dot set parent transform, and false for the world space option. Now we need to grab the player listing script from it. So player listing equals player listing object dot get component player listing, And then all we have to do is just pass in the Photon player, which we received above. So player listing dot apply Photon player, and that will automatically set the text on the prefab as well. So from here we just need to add a reference to the script. So we're gonna do Photon player, we're gonna do player listings dot add player listing. And that's it for this method. Let's go ahead and go down to player left room. So now we're going to try and find the player in the existing player listings list. We're going to grab them by the index. So let's do int index equals player listings dot find index x equals greater than symbol x dot photon player equals photon player, referencing the parameter above. And then we're going to do if index does not equal -1, which means if they were found, we're going to do destroy player listings index.gameObject. So if they already exist in the list or in our room listing, we're going to destroy the object, and then we're going to remove the object script reference from our list. So let's do player listings dot remove at index. And that's it for this method. Go ahead and save everything. Now we just need to add the Photon callback when a player leaves the room, and that is private void on Photon player disconnected, and it passes in Photon player. And all we have to do here is just do player left room Photon player and save. And again, this is called by Photon when a player leaves the room. So now we need to make it that whenever you join a room or you create a room, that room is shown and the lobby is hidden. So go back to the editor and actually rename the room listing folder to current room, and then open it up. Make a new script. Call it current room canvas. Open that script up. And go ahead and delete the start and update, system collections and collections generic, and then save the script and close out of it. Then go back to your editor and just drop that script on the current room and the hierarchy on the top left. Okay, so now we need to go back to the main scripts folder and open up main canvas manager, and we need to add something in for that script or canvas object. So again, serialize field private current room canvas underscore current room canvas, and the public accessor for it okay. Make sure you save your script, then go back to the editor. Select canvas, which houses the main canvas manager, and drag over your current room game object, which contains the current room canvas script, and drop it right under current room canvas. Then save your scene. All right, let's go back to the current room folder and then open up the player layout group. And where it says on join room, at the very top, let's do main canvas manager dot instance dot current room canvas dot, let's see if I can remember, transform. There we go. So it's main canvas manager dot instance dot current room canvas dot transform dot set as last sibling. I couldn't remember the built-in call right away. So what this will do is, I'm just going to show you, go back to your editor here. Currently the current room is above the lobby, so whatever is done in the current room you won't see because the lobby is overlapping it. So what the set as last sibling will do is actually move it down below the lobby. So if you did move it down like I just did, go ahead and move it right back up to where it was. All right, so if you hadn't saved your script, go ahead and save it now. Then let's go back to the editor and give this a quick shot. So hit play. I'm going to type in random room, and then I'm going to hit make room. And there you go. So we're now in our room, and you can see that it did move over here as well. And it added me to the room as well. So that looks like that's good. Now we just need to make an action occur for whenever you click a room to join in the lobby list, because I believe we have not done that yet. So jump into your lobby folder in your scripts and open up lobby canvas, because if you recall, whenever you click a room in the room listing, it will call the on click room and pass in the room name. So all we have to do here is actually pretty easy. Photon network dot join room name. And that just tells Photon network that you want to join that room. Actually, we're going to wrap this in an if statement. So we're going to do if start bracket, and we don't really care to do anything if it's successful, which will return true if it were, but if it doesn't, we want to say print join room failed. Join room might fail if you're not connected to the network, or perhaps if it's full. There could be a variety of reasons. We just want to know that it's not working for some reason. And then let's go back to your editor. Make sure you saved your script changes there. And I think we can test it out. So let's work on compiling a copy and see what happens. So I'm going to go to File, Build and Run. And since we set up a build previously, this should work no problem. Yeah, that looks good to me. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to load up my in editor one as well. And I'm going back to the compiled version. I'm going to make a room called test room. Okay, there it is. I'm going to click it. All right. So it looks like when I joined, it added all the players correctly, but it did not update my editor player when it joined the room. So let me find out what's going on with that. Okay, so I closed out of the executable version and paused, or rather stopped, the version of my editor. I just forgot a very simple method to set here. So I'm going to go back into Visual Studio, and in the player layout group class, right above on Photon player disconnected, I forgot to do the one for when someone joins. So private void on Photon player connected, Photon player, Photon player. And it's going to be pretty easy, just like before. Player joined room, passing in the Photon player parameter from above. All right, save that. Go back to the editor. I'm going to just compile real quick. Build and run. I'm going to play again at 1280 by 720. I'm going to hit play in my editor as well. Okay, back at the executable, another test room, make room. I'm going to join it in the editor. Okay, both are showing up. Both are showing up. Excellent. Okay, so now let's work on the room state and the leave room and start match buttons. So close out of the executable and stop the standalone as well. And yes, I did just refer to the Unity editor as standalone. I also develop in Unreal Engine, and whenever you run the local copy and within the engine, there is an option called standalone. So sometimes I do get my engines mixed up. So let's go ahead and open up current room folder and then player layout group. So I'm going to go down to the very bottom. I'm going to add a new method called public void on click, and I think we called it set state. Let me check real quick because I am really forgetful. Room state. Okay, I called it room state. So on click room state. And this is going to be really easy. We just have to do Photon network dot room dot is open equals the opposite of Photon network dot room dot is open. So all we're doing is just like a Boolean. We're reversing whether the room is open or not. Then we're going to also hide it from the list. So we're going to do Photon network dot room dot is visible equals Photon network dot room dot is open. So if it's open, it's also going to be visible. If it's not open, it's not going to be visible. We don't want the client doing this though. We want only the room master to have the ability to do this. So I'm going to go above these two and do if Photon network dot is master client return, and actually I'm going to change that to is not master client because I do not want them manipulating it if they are not the master client. So save the script here and let's go back to the editor. Hide the lobby, so select lobby in the hierarchy and then hide the inspector to disable it. Select the room state button and click the plus symbol down here to add an action. For the object, I'm going to drag in the player list viewport player layout group. And then under function, I'm going to go to player layout group and I'm going to look for the one I just made, which is on click room state. Okay, so now we need to re-enable the lobby because we do want it on top by default. Save your scene. And let's go to File, Build, and Run. Hit play when it's done building and play the version in the editor as well. Make a test room. Wait for it to appear in the executable, and I'm going to hit the room state button, which should hide it. Alright, it's gone, perfect. I'm going to hit it one more time, and it's back. The room state button is obviously not updating because we haven't added code for it to update. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this video because we've gone over updating text on objects plenty of times in the past, so you should be able to take care of that yourself. Let's move on to the next feature, which will be the leave room button. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the lobby once more so that I can go back to editing my current room canvas. I'm going to go back to the Visual Studio and I'm going to have player layout group open. And I'm going to make a new method called public void onClick leave room. And this is pretty straightforward as well. It's just going to be Photon network dot leave room. Make sure you do leave room, not leave lobby. And save. Go back to the editor. Like before, make sure you have the leave room button selected. Under the button script here, click the plus to add an option. Drop down player list, viewport, then player layout group, and then drag that into the object. And then, like before, player layout group, look for the onClick leave room. So now whenever you click this button, it will perform the Photon network.leave room action. We do have to do something new now. Right now, if you leave the room or you hit the leave room button, it should successfully work, but you'll still be stuck on this canvas, which doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. So we're going to go to the lobby folder. Actually, no, sorry, we're going to go to the networks folder under scripts and open up lobby network. And where it says on joined lobby, just below that, let's do main canvas manager dot instance dot lobby canvas dot transform dot set as last sibling. So all we're doing is whenever you join the lobby, is it's going to show the lobby panel. Now, theoretically, things could go bad where if you're already in a room, you probably don't want this to happen. So let's actually go ahead and add an if statement. So do if photon network dot in room. Actually, let's put the not in room option. So explanation point photon network in room. So if we're not in a room, then we're going to go ahead and show the lobby canvas. That should prevent you from having any issues. Save the script, go back to the editor, and enable lobby again. And let's test this out. Perfect. Okay, so we're no longer in the room, and the room canvas is no longer there. So I'm going to hit stop here. I'm going to build and run just to show you that it is indeed leaving the room and therefore destroying the room as well. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to play it in the editor as well. Okay, so there's the test room I just made. In the editor, I'm going to hit leave room. And they both disappeared. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to close out of the executable and the editor version as well. Now keep in mind that if you leave the room and there's another player in there, the room will still exist. That could be useful if you're running a type of game where you just want people to jump in and out. But let's say you want it so when the host leaves, everyone leaves because you don't want, you don't want other people having control over the room or whatever the reason may be. This is actually a very easy solution for this. So first I'm going to show you what happens whenever the host leaves when there's someone else in the room. So I'm just going to build another copy because I'm lazy and this is actually quicker than navigating to the executable on my hard drive. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to make a random room. And I'm going to join it. And then I'm going to hit leave room. Go back to the executable. So you can see that the room still exists actually. In the play editor, the room still is there. But it doesn't look like the player left room option works. So I probably need to check on that too. And I can still rejoin it if I like. Well, that's abnormal. This probably has something to do with the on player left, so I need to look into that for sure. I found the problem is a very simple mistake. So I'm going to go back to current room in my scripts folder. I'm going to open up player listing, and I just forgot to set the Photon player variable as the Photon player parameter being passed in. So the reason I was causing an issue is because if I do not set this, it is null. So whenever I try to remove a player or check if they're already in the list, remember it's going to compare the player.joined versus all the players currently in the list, and since they're not going to be found, it's going to add a duplicate of them. Now, as to why 4 of them were showing up doesn't make any sense, because Photon should automatically remove players once they leave the room, and they shouldn't be showing as duplicates. I've also never had that issue in the past, so I think something's going on with their server at the moment, or maybe there's an update that I need to grab. And I'm not going to test our code change right now because I know that's why it wasn't working. So just make sure under player listing that you do add this line, save, and you'll be good to go. So let's go back to the editor. And I was talking about maybe you want to kick all the players when the host leaves. So that's not terribly difficult. Let's go ahead and actually just jump right back into player layout group. Let's go up top here. I'll say right above on joined room. Actually, I'm gonna put a comment here. Right above on Photon player connected, I'm just gonna do called by Photon when a player joins the room. I do comment my work automatically out of habit, but if I commented every single thing in this video, it'd probably take a lot longer. But I did, like I said, mention I want to keep tabs on all the Photon calls. So let's do another one. It's going to be private void on master client switched Photon player new master client. So this is called whenever the master leaves, and this is called on all players. So all I'm going to do is if the master leaves, I'm going to do Photon network dot leave room. And you may not want this behavior, like I said. Also, more importantly, you want to make sure that you don't want to call this if the master is not important, because you don't want to, you don't want the master to leave a server and then you follow with him if it's something where you can persist and the master is not as important. But it's just here to show you how it works. And this is a Photon callback. So called by Photon whenever the master client is switched. I know a lot of this is self-explanatory, but just to be thorough. So save everything. Go back to Unity. Let's do file, build, and run. Hit play, also start it up in the editor as well. I'm going to make a test room. I'm going to join it. And watch what happens when the master leaves, which is the editor version. So I'm going to hit leave room. And it also kicked out all the players connected. So let's make the room one more time. Yeah, see, it's showing a duplicate and it shouldn't be showing that because the player left. That's actually showing this guy as well, myself. So something's going on. I think it's an issue with the Photon network. So I'm going to disregard it for now and take a look at it later if it's persisting, the next time I do this tutorial. I'm going to join the room. And remember, this executable version is not the master client. So I'm going to leave the room. And you can see the room is still there. Join the room again. Leave the room as master. And it kicks out all the players. So that's all we're going to be doing for now. The start button will require a bit more work because that's going to fit under the ways to start the server or have all the players join into the main map. So we're going to cover that in another session because that itself can be quite lengthy.